What's happening, everybody? Friday, July 31st, 2026. Anthony Sanfilippo's here. I'm Bob Wankel. Ah, how was your trip to Miami, Anthony? Anything interesting happened down there?
Yeah, it was kind of just, ho hum, a little back and forth. No big deal. No big deal down there in Miami. Kind of
Well,
sleepy little baseball series that it was.
you
How
know,
about my track record, Bob? How about my track record?
we should have known as soon as you were going on the road to cover an important series. We should have known it was doomed from the start. But here we are.
I mean, just so everybody knows, in the last 2 years, this was the fourth time I've gone on a road trip to cover the Phillies, and they've gotten swept on that road trip. Fourth time, twice with the Mets, once with the Pirates, and now this with the Marlins. It's kind of crazy. Now, I've been on the road for them to win, right? I mean, it's not like it's all losses when I go on the road. I was out in LA when they won the division last year. I was in Washington for all the craziness earlier this year when they had those incredible comebacks, right? So I've been there for wins, but 4 times now in 2 seasons, I've been on the road for an ugly sweep.
Yeah, this one had a little bit of everything. It had your best relievers melting down. It had the offense going quiet at the worst times. It had a bad start from Zach Wheeler. A very a blow up, I guess, from Jesus Luzardo, which we hadn't seen for a while. I mean, if it could have gone wrong, it did. And one of the things I sort of regret is recording this at 7:30 on a Friday following an off day, because I mean, if you would have caught me on Tuesday night or Wednesday afternoon, it would have just been a completely different show. But in some ways, I'm thankful for it. Maybe not for the comedy or the comedic aspect of it, but just for the actual nuance of the conversation. I mean, look, I will say, because I think a lot of people, I actually, believe it or not, people DM me and they're like, I can't wait to hear you rip these guys a new one, and that's cool, I guess. I guess I've become like Ricky Bo light in that way. I'm not sure, but yeah, I gotta say this: this team right now stinks. They stink, and they are horrible to watch. And what they did in Miami specifically was an utter embarrassment. Just roll over and die, loser, grade A, elite tier loser stuff. I still think they're a playoff team. I still think they're going to make the postseason. I think that over the next couple days, they're going to do things that improve this team. Do I believe this is a championship team? Hell no. But I think as you watch the free fall, you want to say, blow it up. This is a total waste of time. They shouldn't even bother. I'll get into the blow it up argument. But first of all, you can't blow it up. There's nothing to blow up. You have a bunch of bloated contracts and veteran players. You can move Duran if you wanted to, but you're not going to do that. So, I mean, I just think that the off day came at a great time. And I don't know that it gets any better this weekend. I suspect it does. Maybe not tonight, TBD. Literally, TBD is your starting pitcher. But I look at this and I think that they are much better than what we have seen. And I'm actually going to come into it in a little bit of a weird angle and start by saying that.
Yeah, and that's okay that you do, Bob, because the one thing, and I agree with everything you said, I mean, this is still a playoff team. This is not a championship team, regardless of what Dave Dombrowski goes out and does over the next few days. But this definitely feels different. This stretch of 9 out of 12 losses feels different than where they were when they were 9-19 and back in April. So those losses back then, if you recall, they were getting smoked. Yeah. They were losing, they were getting their doors blown off by the Cubs, right? And in games back then, they were losing by 7-8 runs. There's a bunch of 1-run, 2-run losses or blown, you blow a game late kind of thing in this stretch. And it's man, they're a lot closer than you would think. I mean, if they've gone 3-9 in their last 12 games. If they were 6-6, are we having this conversation? And you can easily find 3 games since the All-Star break. You go, yeah, they should have won that one.
Sure. I mean, I think I could find 4 right away. I mean, I look at, just these last 3 series here. I think that they should have won this series. They certainly were in a position to win the game on Monday night. You don't expect your closer, who's been nearly flawless, to implode the way that he does. It also hurts that the first baseman can't bend over and touch his toes on a ground ball to his right. But like, that's a game that you probably should have won. Obviously, you're up 6-0 on Wednesday. You have Jesus Luzardo on the mound. You expect to win that game. Probably a series they could have won. I go back to last Friday night against the Yankees. They lose 1-0. Luzardo's awesome. They have an opportunity late to tie the game and possibly even take the lead. They don't do it. And then you go back to the Dodger series and, the JT Realmuto base running fiasco. Like, those are 4 games that you probably should have won, and if not, you should have won at least 3 of them, getting you to where you said 6-6.
Yeah, and you can even add in, Bob, the even though they lost the middle game of this series 1-0, they got the pitching that they needed in that game.
Yeah,
right. I mean, Nola wasn't great, but he battled and he got you through 5 2/3, and the bullpen was very good. Like a bunch of guys, came in and did their job. All you needed to do was like scratch out a little bit of offense, and they couldn't do that, right? So you even look at that and say that was a winnable game as well. So that's what I'm saying. Like, this one feels a little different than in April. We were like, holy hell, were we completely wrong about this team, and have they fallen off the cliff? That's where our mindset was back then. I'm not there with this. There's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of disappointment. They aren't playing a good brand of baseball right now, but the fact that they're able to still hang in there with a bunch of decent to good teams and lose these games, you sit there and go, that's fixed. That's somewhat fixable enough so that you're still in the playoffs in October.
Yeah. In the same breath, though, and I agree with what you just said, but in the same breath, like, they aren't winning these games and they're not getting it done in key situations. And it certainly is, I think, a representation of what they are and who they've been, and why I'm somewhat very down on them moving forward, barring something massive happening this weekend. I will say this, and I think that this is kind of important to note. What's different this time around is that you've already made the managerial change. You've already kind of done the shock to the system. And I thought that they were over this. Like, at no point this season have I said on this show or to you or thought to myself privately, this team can win the World Series. So it's not like this morning all of a sudden I'm pivoting off of some lofty aspirations that I have for this team. But I thought that they were over this type of stretch, that they wouldn't go down this road again where, I can't say that it's always lifeless, but there's these spurts of like looking utterly lifeless, looking unfocused. I just thought they'd be over this type of thing. Not to say that they weren't going to go through some struggles and lose some series. They weren't as good as they played for those first 2 months under Don Mattingly. Like, I think that we were all kind of like, this is unsustainable. It looks like smoke and mirrors. They're getting outscored. They're not doing the right things all the time, and yet they somehow keep winning games. Like, we knew that there was going to be a correction here. But I didn't think it would be this extreme, and I am very disappointed that they have put themselves in this position now where they're clinging to the final wild card spot rather than potentially trying to run down the NL East. 2 weeks ago, we're talking about this team maybe winning the division, and instead they can't get out of their own way, and they've created quite a situation for themselves here.
Yes, they have. They've let a bunch of mediocre teams hang around. A bunch of teams that they hang around them.
You could have taken the Marlins out of the conversation this week. They had lost 12 straight games, and you let that team get up off the mat. Now, I don't know what they're going to do at the deadline. There's still some whispers out there that they may look to move some parts, which is what the Marlins always seem to do. We will see, but if they wanted to just simply look at the standings, look at their talent, and say, like, yeah, after you get through some of these division leaders, this league stinks. What the hell? Let's make a run. Like, they could talk themselves into that this morning, whereas 3 days ago, they were probably ready to pack it up.
I think, and it was funny because you had somebody who criticized Ant Jr. Prior to the series. We talked about it on the last episode saying, oh, yeah, the Marlins, they're no playoff team. They lost 12 in a row. Well, you got to see why they're a little scrappy, right? You got to see why they're a team that in a season like this where there's not a lot of good baseball being played, that a team like that could potentially make their way in. And, I mean, they play a good brand of baseball. They do some little things, right? I mean, there were some times, look, they really did it to Duran with the bunt hit, right? That one, that kind of, they steal bases on you. They're aggressive. They hit and run. They play good defense. Look at that. What does that look like when you have a team that plays good defense, right? Like, so there were, because I think of the ball that Marcy caught on Harper on Tuesday night. Like, I mean, that was a guaranteed double in my book, guaranteed off the bat. And he makes a great catch there. And then the third baseman, I forget who it was, that made the diving catch on Sosa. Also, like, the Phillies had some chances. They hit the ball hard in that game. They lose 1-0, right? And the Marlins made some good plays. So, like, that's what winning baseball is. And the Phillies don't do that. And so that's why the Marlins are a scrappy team. Look, Bob, there were so many things that you can unpack with this team. The reality is that they are a top-heavy team, that if their top guys are not playing at their ability, which they will most of the time, but there's going to be stretches when they don't, or games here and there where they don't, like the Wheeler and the Duran thing the other night. Like, they don't have the supporting cast to pick up the slack. That's
clearly evident. I mean,
but that's the difference this year versus, look, there have been frustrations with the Phillies last year before, whatever. But at least in those seasons, you looked at the supporting cast and went, they could steal you a game here and there. They can do their part and cover for the stars every once in a while. You don't have that now. And we're going to get into the whole back and forth between Harper and Mattingly and Dombrowski and how that all went. But this is exactly what has upset Mattingly about this, is because Harper's saying that part out loud now, that the rest of the team beyond the star players, it's just not good enough.
Well, I want to talk about what all of that means. I will say one thing I want to hit on with Don Mattingly. Like, I don't know that he should be completely exempt from criticism either. And I'll just say this, and I point to Wednesday's game specifically. We're potty training my son right now, okay? And when he tries to go to the bathroom, we give him what we call a trying treat, which might be like one M&M or like one gummy bear. But what's happened is I know where that bag is. I know where that bag of gummy bears is. I know where that bag of M&Ms is sitting. And so what I'm doing throughout the course of the day now is wandering into the kitchen, and I am now eating the trying treats. I can't stay away from it. When I know it's there, it's like I can't control myself. Well, the reason why I mention this is because the Phillies have an arm out in that bullpen that just sits out there. And Don Mattingly cannot seemingly control himself. It's like, hey man, Seth Johnson's out there. You don't want it. It's not good for you. Stop going to it. And I don't understand. I don't understand in that game on Wednesday. And I know that it's Bolin who ultimately gets dinged late. But you have one guy who is probably equipped outside of Duran to handle inherited runners or a tighter situation while you still have the lead, no less. And you're going to Seth Johnson, who can't throw strikes. I know he throws 110 miles an hour. He can't get anybody out, and he doesn't throw strikes. It never works out. Stop doing it. I know his options are limited, but, like, guess what? Just because this team and this roster has holes abound, and we all know it, we're going to spend the rest of this podcast talking about it. I need the manager to, like, figure it out too, because he has not been good with bullpen management. He has had no feel for this for like a month now.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you, because in the moment, while I'm sitting down there in Lone Depot Park, and you could see as soon as Luzardo hit a batter the previous inning, I knew we were heading down this path, right? Like, I was like, this is the Luzardo blow up that happens from time to time, right? Here it comes. But as soon as they made the announcement, so you cannot see the Phillies bullpen from the press box, so you have no clue who's warming up. So you got to have somebody tell you. And they announce, and I'm like, okay, they're going to announce Bolin, right? That's who's warming up. And they announced Seth Johnson, and I was kind of like, who?
Surely this will work.
like why? And so look, Mattingly explains it afterwards, and I can I can at least appreciate the rationale while I don't agree with it. And the rationale is this. You didn't have Kerkering or Alvarado because they were both down. Okay, fine. And you're looking at it's the 7th inning, and you said, and his thought in his mind was, I would rather Bolin get 3 outs in the eighth than Johnson get 3 outs in the 8th. Because Johnson's your 5th guy, for lack of a better guy right now. He's your 5th guy, right, in the bullpen. And so he feels that going to Johnson in that spot to get 2 outs as opposed to having a clean inning and getting 3 is a better bet. I disagree. I think I've always been of the mindset that you take the situation in front of you and you resolve that first and worry about what's to come later, right? And that's why I would have gone Bolin there. But at least you could understand, like, that was it. Like, he wanted Bolin for the 8th, Duran for the 9th. That was his plan. And he was hoping to get Luzardo through to 7th. I mean, really, that was what they were hoping for, is that Luzardo would get through 7. And Luzardo kind of lets them down a little bit.
Yeah,
right. So that's really what it comes down to. I agree with you. I would have gone Bolin. And then maybe you kind of piecemeal it, right? Maybe you go to make Bolin start the 8th inning and then go to Duran for a 5-out save or something like that, right? Maybe that's what you should have done in that moment. But going to Seth Johnson was not a smart move.
All right. Well, look, I mean, obviously they have a number of problems, and I do want to, before we have the conversation about what happened between Bryce Harper and Don Mattingly and Dave Dombrowski sort of looming over all of it and that dynamic. Just a quick thing here that I don't know. I don't want to say it's been overlooked. And there is actually someone who made the comment. I don't want to bring it up just because it's said in a way that's funny, but not in a way that I want to show it up on the screen. But Kyle Schwarber missed an entire series this week. And one of the lines in the Gelb article yesterday that came out about the Dombrowski-Harper dynamic is that Schwarber might not be ready to play tonight. And that's 4 games, 5 days. And we went through this, earlier this season as well. When people hear GI issue, they kind of tend to go, he's got the runs. But
I don't think it's that. I think this is upper GI.
Yeah. This
is not the poops.
And it's not to even speculate about what it is, but we sort of write it off and go, okay, well, it's not a knee, it's not a back, it's not anything that's going to, derail his season. But without knowing, I will say, I'm somewhat concerned, especially if he misses tonight. That would be 7 games. I think he's lost this season to this issue. And I do wonder, is this having any lingering impact in his game when he's available? And is this something that could recur at the absolute wrong time come October? We sit here and talk about, because I know Kyle Schwarber's a gamer, right? So I would like to imagine if he felt good enough to play this week, he would have played. So I don't think that this is the type of thing that you can simply assume, well, hey, if it were October and they were playing the Dodgers, he would be in there. Obviously this is enough that it's significant enough that he's just not even been visible. So
he didn't talk after the last game. He was there because obviously they had to get on a plane to Baltimore, right? So he was probably staying back at the hotel. I didn't see him at all the last 2 days until after the 3rd game, and he didn't talk. So I can't say anything specific about what his situation is because we don't know. But I can, from an observational standpoint, just from me watching the guy get dressed, right?
Yeah.
He looked very uncomfortable. Like he was, not like he was in pain, but he looked like he was going through something at that time. Like he was sick, not feeling well. Yeah. And you feel bad, right? I mean, you look at a guy, man, that I wouldn't want to be that right now. That just kind of looks tough. And you're right, though. What could I don't know what an upper GI illness is. Is it awful heartburn that's causing him to throw up 5 times a day? I have no idea. What is it? Right. But it's certainly something where I firmly believe Kyle Schwarber, even at 80%, would play, and he's probably not even 80%.
And therein lies the concern. I don't think this is a guy kicking up his legs for 3 days in Miami while the team's going through a tailspin and saying, "Oh well, I think that this is certainly." I don't know what it is, and I'm not going to speculate. One, and first and foremost, I hope that he's okay. But two, like, there is a little bit of concern here for me anyway. Like, well, this is a recurring issue now, and what happens if it recurs in 2 months? And you can forget it. You can add whatever bullpen arm you want and whatever fourth or fifth starter you want. It will simply not matter if he's unavailable. I mean, you saw it this week, and I know they scored runs in 2 out of the 3 games. They put some runs up, but like this offense sucks to begin with, and you remove him from it, and dear God.
Yeah. Agree.
Agree. All right. Well, anyway, let's talk about what we do know something about definitively, which is that the dynamics, the whatever you want to call it, the flow within the clubhouse and the locker room up to the front office, something is not right here. Anthony, you were down there. I presume you actually saw Harper, make those comments the other night
standing right next to him.
Everybody knows what we need, both in reference to pitching and hitting. I guess, you set it up. You were there. Tell me what you saw.
So, we kind of anticipated that Harper would say something about the deadline, about Dave bringing people in. He's done this before, right? Let's be honest. And we've said on this show, Bryce Harper doesn't ever say anything without some thought in advance. Yeah. Like, he's not an off-the-cuff guy. When he speaks, he's got something to say, and that he has something to say. He's thought about it. And, in years past, like go back to last year or the year before, whatever, as the deadline approaches, Bryce Harper inevitably gets asked because everybody thinks he's the assistant general manager, right?
We've been making that joke in the press box for 5 years now.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so everybody asks his opinion, and he always says something along the lines of, Dave's going to, go out and do the things that he needs to do to help this team get to where we want to go. Like in that way, he's always said those things, right?
Yeah.
Fine. To hear it said the way it was said on Tuesday night, I was kind of taken aback because it was very direct. And when he says, "I think we need some help," that's a different way of saying it. And my immediate thought, the very first thing I thought after I kind of collected myself after he said it was, because Jim Salisbury asked the follow-up question, do you need a bat or an arm? He says both, right? My immediate thought was, and I think this is where it is. This was a way back at Dombrowski. When Dave said last year, Bryce didn't have an elite season, and Bryce took that into the offseason and into spring training and had all the things he had to say about it. This was him kind of saying back to Dave, you didn't have an elite offseason, Dave. Go fix it. That was my initial reaction in the moment, because it was so direct, and it wasn't direct at Dave, but it was a direct, we need help, that he's never said before when asked these same questions in previous seasons. That's why I was like, okay, this is different this time around.
You have a problem with what he said?
No, he's right. He's right. So I ultimately, and I'm going to get to my take on this, Bob, after we talk about what Mattingly said, but Harper's right. I mean, they need help. You see it, I see it. And as I wrote in a story the other day, it was like, they know it in the clubhouse. They know it in the manager's office, in the coach's room. They know it in the front office. We know it in the press box. The fans know it in the stands. Bryce Harper's right. They need help. So it's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I think there's so many different things that I think about it. And so, I don't have one definitive stance. Like, let me just kind of, do a little stream of consciousness with you here. one, like Bryce Harper is utterly exhausting. Like just answer the question. You don't need to take shots at the front office. You don't need to throw your teammates under the bus. Just say like, hey, look, I it's not my job. I think that they're going to do what they need to do to help us get over the top. Also play better. I'm sorry. I know he swung the bat a little bit better these last few nights or few games, whatever. He ran into some bad luck out there too. But like, you've got to be better. You can't be hitting sub 200 in the month of July. You have no slug. You're not making an impact whatsoever. Like, you've got to be better than this. And, like for the start that he had, he was an all-star. He should have been an all-star. But the run that he's been on for the last 4 or 5 weeks here, you look up at his numbers and you say, well, again, like, let's use the E word. It's not elite. Like, I need you to be better, Bryce. And I think that my entire consumption of Bryce Harper is entirely dependent on his production. Like, if he's out there and he's absolutely mashing and he's Bryce Harper at his best, I can tolerate all of this other stuff. But when he's not going well and he does the low energy, pouty pants, kind of like, like it's a chore to be out there. And like whether or not he wants to admit it is clear as day to anybody with a set of eyes that his energy has a massive impact on the way that the Phillies look and feel. Like, so I need more out of him. That being said, he's not wrong. They need multiple things, and we all agree with that. Which is why I don't even know why it needs to be said, which means that you're right. It is a shot at Dave Dombrowski. Also, like Dave and Bryce, I know that you have two of the biggest egos in baseball. Figure it out. And they're not going to. You know why? Well, I'm not going to say what I said to you via text message yesterday, but they're not going to figure it out. Because if they were going to figure it out, they would have by now. And if I were John Middleton, I'd be a little bit annoyed. I'd be a little bit annoyed about a lot of things, including like my investments not really paying off again. But if I were John Middleton, I'd be like, look, I've handed you the keys to the franchise, Dave. You're supposed to be a leader. I can't have this. I don't want this. Fix it. Make it right. And if I were John Middleton, I'd say to Bryce Harper, I've made you the face of this franchise. I've paid you a lot of money. We're in this together. I need you to be bigger than this and figure it out. And it's disappointing to me that 10 months after this initially all kicked up, that neither of these guys have been able to do that. And, I know pro athletes, big-time executives, guys that are going to be in Cooperstown one day, I'm sure it's a little bit harder to get through to these guys than it is some others. But, man, it's so disappointing. It's another disappointment in a string of disappointments.
Yeah, and what I wrote, Bob, is that, and I agree, they need to figure it out. And even just for an optics thing, like they should have some kind of little thing where they come out together and crack jokes with one another, kind of thing, just to kind of make everybody, relax a little bit, because it did set off a firestorm in town. But I wrote the very thing you just said, that one day in the not too distant future, both of these guys are going to end up getting a plaque in Cooperstown. Hell, they might be elected to the hall the same year, right? They literally could. There's a world where they get into this Cooperstown in the same season, same year, right? And you're going to have a bunch of Philadelphia fans that go there. If they don't accomplish what they wanted to accomplish, which is win a championship together in this town, this is going to tarnish their legacy. Yeah. Their inability to have a good working relationship is what's going to tarnish them here. Fair or not, it's going to tarnish them in Philadelphia, because that's what we'll remember. We'll remember that Bryce Harper never won it and Dave Dombrowski didn't win it here, and that they didn't get along. That will be the narrative that we remember of these two.
Well, what I wonder is when this really started, because I know that the story goes, Dave makes his comments, Bryce isn't elite or didn't have an elite season. Bryce doesn't like that. Now the two don't talk. You know that this tension predates those comments from Dave Dombrowski, because I don't think Dave Dombrowski would have ever made those comments in the first place if those tensions didn't exist. Like, I think that there's been something boiling here for a while now, and I wonder if it kind of goes back to like 2023. We have an opportunity to make a splash at the deadline. They don't really do it. Harper goes, I came here to win. I'm under market value to be here at this point. You're not paying me long term. I wanted more money. You're not giving it to me. That's probably creating some tension. But now not only that, but on top of it, like, we have a chance to win a championship and you don't really do a whole lot. You go fast forward next year, 24, They're rolling at the deadline, at the midway point. They're going to win 100 games. They don't really do anything of great significance to make you feel like they're going over the top. Last year, they made 2 moves that really worked out well for them in Bader and Duran. But, like, same thing. Like, do you think that there's this frustration from Bryce Harper that's like, yo, man, this organization's not doing right by me, even though you have to sort of suspend the reality that they are spending a lot of money? Like, is Bryce Harper frustrated that Dave Dombrowski hasn't done enough up until this point to get them in position to truly win it?
I think you're right. It goes back to 23, because if you recall, when was it that Bryce started talking about his contract extension, getting paid more money?
Yeah.
That's, to me, that's when, if you go back to that, that's when this all started, right?
Because he used to talk about, like, he'd be like, Dombrowski, like, he's the man.
Yeah.
Like, when, you were talking about, oh, well, like Bryce has said we need things in the past. He said it in a different way this time. He used to be, I thought, like, effusive in his praise to Dave Dombrowski. Like, Dave will handle it. Dave's got it. Like, I thought that Bryce used to look at Dave and speak about Dave specifically in a way that there was this, like, implicit trust that, hey, he's Dave Dombrowski. He's going to do it. And now I think it's like, hey, Alec Boehm's hitting behind me still.
Yep.
What else do I need to say? Yeah. And that's the other thing, Anthony. Like, we know that Trey Turner's been brutal this year. Do you think that Bryce was talking about Trey Turner the other night? No. Do you think he was talking about some of those starting pitchers at the top of the rotation? No. Do you think he was talking about Aaron Nola? No. So he's clearly circling, like, 1 to 3 guys that, like, we specifically need to make the change here. And, like, we know who that is. Bryson Stott's his boy. By the way, Bryson Stott's been really good for 3 months. So, who's he talking about?
Exactly.
Is he talking about the catcher? No. So, I mean.
No, he's not.
Who is he talking about? Now, I know, granted, look, the outfield's a disaster, and, like, you can make upgrades there.
Yeah.
But, when you do that, as Don Mattingly mentioned, like, when you say what you said, you are implying that certain guys that you're going to battle with, you don't believe in, and that's tough.
Well, that's the whole thing. And so the Mattingly thing, you want to talk about getting caught off guard, right? So there's a Wednesday 12 o'clock matinee in Miami, which I understand they do it because, like, there's summer camps that go. That was the largest crowd, believe it, of the 3 days, a whopping 14,000 that were there on Wednesday. But they had, like, a bunch of kids at the game, whatever. Okay, fine. So, like, we're called to the stadium for 9:15 clubhouse open, 9:15 in the morning. This was after being there until 11 o'clock at night the night before, right? This is a quick turnaround. So, usually in a situation like that, you're not expecting much pregame because you just talked to Don Mattingly, 12 hours ago, 10 hours. Like, nothing has really changed, right, in that time. So it's normally a sleepy morning. It's normally hey, just kind of BS conversations with the manager and just kind of talk about things, joking around. That's really what that morning confab with the media is like. And it's only 5 of us there. So it's like, it's not like it's at home where there's all the cameras and all the TV people come in and all the other smaller media outlets come in and, there's 40 people. It's 5 of us. So it's kind of very laid back and casual. The last thing I expected was Don Mattingly to basically say, I didn't like what Bryce had to say last night. I was like, again, talk about stun. And what I appreciate out of Mattingly is he's refreshingly honest, right? Very much so.
Well, here's a guy that probably won't be here next year. And so he figures, you know what? I'm just going to be myself, say what I think, and we'll see how it goes.
Exactly. And I was again, kind of surprised by it. And this is the question that I started pondering as I was sitting there, because I immediately went upstairs to start writing it. I was like, I got a story out of this, right? This is a story. And the thing I started pondering was, now, look, the manager is always going to be more in tune with the front office than the players are, right? That's just the nature of it in general. But this is a unique situation where the manager's son is the general manager, right?
Yeah.
So how in tune is that? And so then I started looking at the things that Mattingly said and kind of putting into my head, did he have a conversation with Preston? I'm sure he did in some capacity. Because if I were Don Mattingly and my son was the general manager, I would talk to him. It's not like I wouldn't talk to my own kid just because he's in a position of authority. So like I would, be that. But when he says things like, you don't know what the plan is going forward beyond this year.
Yeah.
Like that is like he's speaking for the front office at that point, right? Like that's not Mattingly just saying, Bryce, I didn't like this because it's not good for our clubhouse. There's an element of that too, but he is becoming the mouthpiece for the front office by saying what he said, correct?
It feels that way. And I mean, just when you, as you pointed out, you have that father-son connection, it's hard not to look at that and say, okay, well, clearly he's trying to convey a message here, from the top down. So I don't know, man. I don't know where you go from there. Like, I think at the end of the day, if you go out and you make some upgrades and you start winning games, stuff like this doesn't matter as much, but like it's impossible. You can't sit here and dismiss this as like, it's not a big deal. It's a big nothing burger because, these guys are all competing. Things get said, no hard feelings, no big deal. Like there's something going on here and it doesn't feel right. And this team hasn't really felt right most of the season and they're in a tough spot right now. And then by the way, they went out and they absolutely tanked the game following that. So, I think you have to acknowledge that this is certainly a problem. It's certainly something that someone has to put a bow on this, even if it's just a complete facade and internally everything's still brewing and boiling and there's tensions outwardly, like they have to move people like you and me off of this. And so I'm curious to see how they do that.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. And that's what I was saying. Like even just put on a show. Like just have both Bryce and Dave speak to the media and poo-poo this whole thing. Like that would be the way to do it, at least to quiet the storm for now, even though we all and that was the other thing I wrote. Like I'm glad Gelb wrote it, right? And got this story out there because we've been surmising this for a long time. Right? This is not like this is a are you kidding me? Like a big surprise? Like no. We kind of knew that this existed, right? To begin with, I'm glad that Matt pulled the Band-Aid off and it's there. You see the open wound, right? Like, I mean, but at the same time, get over it. You guys are two of the most prominent people in the sport in the positions that you are in. There's no need for this. There's no need for it. Like we've all had bosses that we've butted heads with, right? But the idea, the goal remains the same for both people. You might look at it differently. You might have a different thought of how to get to that goal, but the goal at least remains the same. And you're all your infighting is at least targeted to the same idea.
Yeah.
So that to me is why you got to be able to get past it and say, oh yeah, I don't agree with him. He doesn't agree with me. I don't particularly like him as a person. He doesn't particularly like me as a person. But we should be able to at least work together because we're trying to accomplish the same thing together. Like that shouldn't be a rift in my mind. And to me, it seems small and petty. And I hate saying it that way, but that's how it seems to me.
I believe in the Gelb piece, there was a few lines that the Phillies are going to get their top officials together in Baltimore this weekend and sort of assess where they're at and what their game plan is going to be at the deadline, which to me then suggests that you probably should not expect to see a trade by the end of business today. Maybe they will get there. Who knows? But you look at this, and there are some rumors now starting to gain some steam, and there's the Zach Neto thing, and then there's the Varsho-Hoffman thing. There's some, I guess, momentum with the Blue Jays and what, like, I believe Paul Morosi had reported. I guess, we could go about this a few different ways. I guess let's start by zooming out. Like, what do you think is going to happen? Not necessarily, like, who do they get? But, like, are we going to be sitting here on August 3rd going, whoa, whether it be a certain player by name that comes in or by like 4 different moves, like, are we going to see a little bit of a jolt to this thing, like a real shakeup to this?
So I think you're going to see 3 new players. I think you're going to see a bullpen arm. I think you're going to see a starting pitcher. I think you're going to see a position player. I just think that's what it's going to be, right? I don't think they have enough to do more than that, right? I mean, like, you have to get super creative, and even then, I don't know how you get it done to really bring in more than that. And not only that, I think you might get a couple of those pieces from the same organization, because that would make it, make sense. And that's why I thought this whole Blue Jays thing really kind of stands out to me, right? And the reason I say that is because the Blue Jays have a lot of expiring contract veterans who've been there. They may not be having the greatest years, but they've been there. They've been in the highest leverage situations. They've either won championships or played in them. Obviously, they were in the World Series a year ago, Game 7, 2 outs away from winning the whole thing. So you have a bunch of guys who know what this is like. But because they're on expiring contracts, you probably don't have to give up your best prospects, right? And the Blue Jays obviously have major familiarity with the Phillies prospects at the lowest levels, because they play each other a ton in the complex league. Dunedin's literally right next door to Clearwater, right? So I think that there's a really good matchup there. And so I look at the Blue Jays, and whether it's Varsho and Hoffman, or Kevin Gausman's in this mix, right? Or George Springer, whoever's in the mix, I think you could end up getting 2 players from the Blue Jays in some capacity in one deal that would kind of fill 2 of the holes that you're trying to fill for the rest of this season.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't be surprised if Varsho happened, in that, he can catch the ball, which is kind of nice. And he's not having a great year, but there's obviously the Phillies connection. Gary Varsho's father is coach here. I think he was actually an interim manager for
yes, he was at one point.
2 days at one point, right? Yeah. Was that after Boa?
I think it was. Yeah, it was after Boa.
And then I think the legend is that he was named after Darren Daulton. Is that?
That's
I believe
correct.
that's correct. Okay, so there you go. That's a nice little story. I could see the Phillies love that stuff. But like, if that's the position players, that obviously it's not enough. We know that's not enough to flip this lineup. But like, would you see them going out and saying like, okay, that's a piece. We obviously need another piece. Like, we're going to do 2 very marginal upgrades within this collection of hitters. Like, do they go that route? Like, it just, to me, feels like if you're not going to go make a splash, which again I acknowledge is very hard to do because there's just not that many splash worthy players available, I just feel like there has to be even more turnover. I cannot get past this idea, and I just keep saying it, and I understand that it's unlikely to occur, but like, I just think you have to change the way that this entire thing feels. Like, I really do.
Yeah, well, so this is where I'm at with you. I'm with you on this, Bob, because I feel like whatever moves you make, fine. And like you said, there's not going to be a splashy name, because there's not a huge splashy name out there outside of Scooble,
right?
Who's going to end up Dodgers, Brewers, Rays. One of those 3 teams, I think, is going to end up with Scooble.
Did you see the story about Hunter Green possibly?
Yeah, I did see that. That was an interesting one.
I mean, he can't stay healthy, but boy, if he
that was talking about a guy who's got an electric arm. Holy cow! Like that kind of stuff. Like, whatever that could, unless there's a huge name coming in, unless Mason Miller's being traded from the Padres, right? So if we're not talking about any of those top tier guys, everybody else kind of falls into the same tier, right? That middle tier, it's a nice player, but it's not a needle mover, right? The only thing that they really should be doing then to kind of shake the team up again, like, they made the managerial change and we saw how they responded. So if you want to get that kind of response again, you have to move somebody out who is part of the core.
Yeah. And
so that's why we talked about the Neto thing before. Like, that's an interesting thing to me, because that would in essence guarantee that somebody in the infield is not going to be here, or is not going to be part of this. Now, I would keep Stott, obviously, the way he's played really well. He's been hitting well, and it's been an extended period. It's been kind of quiet, if you go back, but he's
So-
almost an 800 OPS.
Like I said to you,
Yeah.
he's almost 800 OPS for what, 2.5 to 3 months now. He just can't have that 530 OPS August, which is like what it always seems to be with him. It's like, ooh, here we go, finally, and then crash.
Yeah.
He's there though right now.
Right. Exactly. So it has to be Bohm, right? Or the seismic move is we're taking Trey Turner off of shortstop and playing him at second. Maybe you move Stott to third and Neto to short, or whatever. Neto to third. And
Let me ask you this. I wanted to get your thoughts on this real quick, and we have to kind of wrap in like the next 5 to 10.
Yeah.
But I said the other day, and I actually heard Todd Zalecki say something similar. I believe he was on, I want to say like 97.5, but I believe I said this to you on the show on Monday as well. I don't think that they're going to move Trey Turner off of shortstop this season. When you think about how business gets done and how Major League Baseball flows and how the Phillies do business, like that is a huge move. You're paying this guy a lot of money. He would be very miffed. I know that nobody cares about that given what he's making and that he's been a letdown, but like there's a lot of considerations that go into making Trey Turner no longer be your everyday shortstop. I'm looking for them to change the feel, like really do something to shake this team up. I don't think they're going to be able to do that through trades. I think they can get better on paper, and I think that they're going to, rebound and all of those things. But I don't think that they can really change or alter the DNA. So I do wonder, like, is the thing just let's go full chaos? Like, let's do this. Let's bring in this guy and get Trey Turner off the shortstop. You don't have like bringing in Neto does not mean that you have to take Trey Turner off shortstop, but like, what the hell? Why not? That'll change how this feels.
Yeah, no, I mean it doesn't exactly. That would be a shakeup. That would change the dynamic of the team. And look, I don't think Trey Turner is going to the outfield in season. I think that possibility does exist next year and beyond. But you're not taking a guy who has not had who's had zero reps in the outfield and suddenly put him out there in August and say, all right, let's go win a championship with this. Like that's not happening. But could you conceivably move Turner to second base in season? You could. Like that's an easier transition in season. Be interesting. It does interest me, Bob. I'm curious.
I mean, the idea though is if it were Bohm that were the odd man out in this scenario, it would be Neto at second, Stott moves to third, right? That would be the conventional. Like
I would think so. I think, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if Neto can play third. I have not. I don't know. I don't know.
Here's Phillies tailgate, which by the way, great follow on X. But
absolutely great follow.
They don't want to move Harper to the outfield, but why not Neto at third, Bohm at first? Harper can replace De La Cruz and right. I mean, yeah. Look, I would love to see them push Bryce Harper back into the outfield just to see
for 2 months. Just for 2 months,
but just to see if he really would do it. And one of the things that because this all went down with Dombrowski, Harper, and Mattingly. One of the things that I thought got overlooked was I brought my glove with me just in case there was a move. I actually did not interpret that as a pandering thing. I interpreted that as actually another little subtle jab at Dombrowski. Like, just in case this guy wakes up and actually makes a move, I have my glove with me. Like, that's how I thought he said that. And I thought at the time, I was like, maybe I'm stretching this a little bit. But then when you hear everything else that was said this week, I'm like, I actually think that's what he was saying when he said, I brought my glove with me.
Yeah, I know.
So now if I'm Dave Dombrowski, the only obvious thing to do is go get a first baseman and say, all right, buddy, get out there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, all right.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of but I don't know, but does that become part of the pettiness? Like,
hell yeah, but like, let's go full dysfunction. Like, I watched the 24 Eagles win a Super Bowl and the quarterback and wide receiver wouldn't even look at one another.
Yeah.
Got a guy reading a book on the sideline. I want full dysfunction. This, kumbaya, everybody's all in love with each other. The Phillies have the greatest clubhouse of all time, Spotify playlist thing. It's not working. So let's go full dysfunction.
I like it. No, you're right. You're right about that. All right. I know we got to wrap slightly early. We're going to wrap about 5 minutes earlier than usual today. But I do have one last thing. Just because it was pretty cool. And Chris mentioned this. I'm glad that Chris brought this up earlier because this was going to be my one last thing. I even have a story pulled up about it. Did you see the grand slam by Cody Clemens off Matt Strahm yesterday?
Sure did. Down to the last out, down to the last strike, down 3, hits the grand slam. They were saying there's like a name for it. It's like when you are down 3 in extras, final out. Like it happens like once every 40 years that a home run like that will put you ahead to win it.
Yeah, pretty awesome. And how that whole thing kind of plans out. It was the first time that there was a walk-off grand slam with a team down 3 runs down to their final strike in baseball since 2018.
It's crazy.
And you might remember that when David Bode, the Cubs, he had a walk-off grand slam. I can remember him like kind of screaming, running around the bases, and that place was going nuts. But yeah.
I saw after the home run yesterday or the grand slam yesterday, somebody put up the Baseball Reference head-to-head, Cody Clemens and Bryce Harper. And Harper's having a better season, but it's not that much better.
Yeah, no, Cody's done a nice job. Like, that's a guy that, look, I don't know if he would be doing what he's doing in Minnesota here, but that's a guy that they probably missed on. They misused him.
Yeah.
Should have figured out a way to keep him around.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's not a lot of those. There's not a lot of those guys.
No, but on the other side of that, look, I mean, Dave's taken a lot of heat, and the guy that gave up that grand slam, they moved off of him at the right time.
Yeah,
that's for sure. I mean, look, Bolin blows a game too the other day. I get it, but I mean, that's been a slam dunk trade for the Phillies.
Yeah, and he's got control, right? That you got control of him for a while. Last question, though, kind of since we're talking about these kinds of players. You want Jeff Hoffman back?
Well, if you look at the old baseball savant page, there's a lot of swing and miss, and the expected ERA and the expected batting average is a lot better than it really has been. But, I don't know. Look, I don't really want Jeff Hoffman back, to be honest with you. I like Jeff Hoffman. I actually really liked him when he was here. I do think that maybe bringing him back here, not having him be the closer, you can protect him a little bit, but man, he's just faltered so many times in big spots for the Blue Jays. And I know that the arm's still live. I just wonder where he's at. The thing that I said to him, we did a show with him.
Yeah.
And I said, the thing I love about you, wouldn't we talk to him? Was that in 24?
Yes.
24. So the thing I love about you is I feel like when you're out there, you're like, come and get it. Like, I'm going to rip your head off. Like, he had this absolute alpha, I'm going to dictate the way this is going down. Like, I loved his body language. I loved the way that he attacked. But man, he's been punched quite a bit in Toronto. And I just wonder, does he still have that confidence in himself? And he's obviously, if he comes here, yes, he's not the closer, but they're going to go to him in every big spot. And I just don't know. I don't know at this point if he can handle that. Not saying he can't, but I'd be a little bit worried.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I don't know if I want to go that path either, Bob. I don't know if I want to go down that road. I think there's other arms that are out there that you can go get. You don't need to do that.
Yeah.
So. They win in this series this weekend?
Well, I want to say yes. I feel like that they.
Why?
I want to say yes. I don't know. Baltimore is just an absolute fraud, a fraud of all frauds. I like that team too. They've let me down this year, but I don't know. Phillies right now, it's hard to invest. It's certainly when you look at the fact that you don't know how they're approaching the game tonight from a pitching standpoint. You're probably starting off in a 1-0 hole. I'll say no. Actually, I'm going to say no, and then hopefully I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'm going to say yes because I think that they win with Sanchez, and I think Wheeler has a shut-up game.
Okay, well, that's good. Yeah. You were down there, and I just was wondering, by the way, tonight it's TBD versus Brandon Young, who's been good for the Orioles. Sanchez and who is it, Baz?
Shane Baz.
Yeah, Shane Baz, Sanchez, Baz, and then Wheeler, Bradish. And Bradish is all right. But Baz is okay, too. These are all okay arms, but these guys are all, you can get to them. They're not shut down guys. Wheeler, that was extraordinarily concerning the other night. you just don't think there's going to be any lingering effects? We won't see
Dude,
that
he
again.
he was as adamant as I've ever seen him say, like, I'm fine. Like
Okay.
it was just one of those. He's like, you ever had a bad day at work?
Yeah.
I had a bad day at work. It's basically what he said. Like,
Okay.
like it's nothing physical. So no, I don't. I think you're going to get a Wheeler shove on Sunday. So I'm going Phillies.
Would that have happened? I mean, the velocity is velocity. Would that have happened regardless, or did like the circus act in the first inning, put that in motion the other night?
No, he said he felt it. He said he felt it in the bullpen. He knew in the bullpen that he couldn't get comfortable on finding his pitch, and so he knew it was going to be off. He said he's had it happen before, and he's kind of figured it out. You go out on the mound and you try and figure it out and grind through it. He said,
How is it watching a game at that stadium in person? I hate it on TV.
It's no energy. Like there's no energy in the stadium, right?
But if you pack the place, would you be like, yeah, this is great? Like it's just another.
It's an interesting stadium. I
I
wouldn't
just
say
don't like the color. I don't like the lighting, like the way it plays on TV. I think it's ugly on TV.
It's not. I mean, it's okay. I mean, if you're in a stadium, it's like this isn't the ugliest stadium in the world. It's indoors, and I don't like baseball indoors. So that automatically gets a knock right there. But it's for an indoor stadium, it's okay. It's so cavernous, because there's 10,000 people in there, and that's it. It's just so everything echoes. Like it's just like so any sound that they play, it just reverberates and echoes everywhere. It's awful. You can't hear anything. No. If it was sold out, I think it would be a different feel. But nobody goes. But anyway, that'll do it for us. Yeah, I'll get it out of here. So thank you once again for tuning in to Phightin Words. Don't forget you subscribe to Phightin Words, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora, wherever you get your podcast. Best place right here. YouTube. Click that thumbs up, ring the bell. Make sure you never miss a show, even when we go live at 7:30 in the morning, unexpectedly for most of you. But I have a busy day today. That's why we had to do it. So apologize for the early morning thing. But if you're listening in the podcast feed, you want to find us on YouTube, youtube.com/@PhightinWords. For Bob Wankel, I'm Anthony Sanfilippo saying thanks for tuning in. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. I'm sure I'll see a bunch of you down in Baltimore because I know it'll be a big Phillies caravan down there. There'll be a lot of fans down there, so I'll be sure to say hello. Say hello to me if you see me, and we will talk to you on Monday.